You know, we were just celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary in beautiful Hawaii, and we had a wonderful time there, and I met a girl that was from Japan, and I was asking her, you know, she still has family there, what were the effects from the spill, the nuclear spill.
Right.
And she was telling me that there are parts of the country where that happened, where people are suffering serious side effects as a result of that getting into the air.
Right.
One of the headlines that you saw concerned Japan. Talk a little bit about that.
Right. Well, I saw in this particular event, I was actually in Japan. I don't know how to describe that, but I was actually in Japan on a mountainside on the other side of Tokyo. And while I was standing there, I saw a high-speed train go by. I saw a cherry tree right to my right, and I saw this huge volcano in the background that had snow coming down about halfway down the volcano.
A cherry tree, interesting.
Yeah, right. It was a cherry tree. And so, or the cherry blossoms or cherry tree.
Yeah.
And I saw a plume come out the side of this volcano. And then I saw a short time later a second plume come out the side of the volcano. And a short time later I saw a third steam or plume come out the side of the volcano. And then it exploded. And it was way worse than Mount St. Helens. It was.
Goodness.
And I was hearing all the traffic, the noise, the people, shopping, the business, everything. I could hear all the noise of all the people. And then I watched incredible steam come and almost melt certain signs begin to melt right before my eyes. And steam began to roll through the town, and instead of it being noisy, it came to just in moments, it came to a muffled hush, just deadly silence. And then everything disappears, and out of the background comes this newspaper swirling like this, turning. It gets to me, it comes up on end, and it says, Volcano erupts near Tokyo, 7 million dead, another million missing.
Oh, my.
I know that is going to happen. And at the time, Mount Fuji was not just a dormant volcano, it was a dead volcano. It was a dead volcano. Today, it's now awakened.
Oh my goodness.
It's now awakened because of the tsunami and nuclear and earthquake issue in northern Japan. Somehow, apparently, whatever happened with that has awakened the mountains around Tokyo and Mount Fuji.
And the sleeping giant has awakened.
The sleeping giant. And one plume has come out of it.
Wow.
One plume has come out the side, a steam vent has come out the side of Mount Fuji.
Now, what's interesting about the nation of Japan?
Well, the nation of Japan, and in this, I heard the Lord's voice say, Japan is the only nation that in its foundation made no provision for the one true God.
Oh.
Japan
Made no provision.
Made no provision for the one true God.
Okay.
Washington, D.C. riots.
Washington, D.C. riots is very, very concerning to me because I saw a huge number of people, and I saw the streets of the Capitol. Washington, D.C. just doesn't have Pennsylvania Avenue and Capitol buildings and monuments, but it has housing and apartments everywhere.
Right.
And I saw people in the streets, and they were spray painting our monuments. On the heels of that headline, I saw a secondary headline that said, Washington Monument tilts further, repairs to other structures put on hold. So something happened that the Washington Monument began to tilt.
Oh my goodness.
And it will be obviously a noticeable tilt, and there will be repairs that we put on hold to other monuments. Again, this is part of God speaking to our nation. It says, it's like the enemy has access to the degree we agree with the enemy. When we don't agree, when we agree with God, then God will take control over us. But if we agree with the enemy, then it gives Satan the right or the authority or permission, might be a better way of saying it, to come after us. And we are agreeing. We have a lot in common with darkness right now.
My goodness.
We have a lot in common with some of the values and the lifestyles that we are espousing here in America. And
Yes.
and we are not standing up for truth.
No.
In many of our churches
Right.
are even adopting belief systems that are contrary to the Word of God. That is very dangerous.
It's
for
very,
America.
very
So true.
dangerous, and it allows the enemy access to us.
Right.
Whatever you agree with Satan on allows him access to you.
Wow.
Where is the Navy now?
That was an interesting headline because something happened to America from the Gulf of Mexico and the eastern coast, and the Navy should have caught it. The patrol of our ship should have caught that, but they weren't there to catch it. They were somewhere else.
Wow. What about martial law being extended 30 more days?
The riots in America became so severe that they literally had a national martial law declared in order to stop the riots. Many people thought they were race riots, but they were really economic riots, but had to do some with race. But it was economically instigated riots that were really devastating. And I saw another interesting headline after that, and it said, "The new Robin Hood." Flash mob looting in rich neighborhoods. So there was like flash mob looting is where flash mobs are where they text people, and a large number are on their text, and they would show up at a certain location and do certain things. Like there's been flash mob dances, and so this is a flash mob looting. They would say on a certain day at a certain time, we're going to show up at a certain rich neighborhood, and what's theirs is ours. So they robbed the large houses of what they had and take their belongings and just destroy the house. They destroy the house.
How about the ocean temperature spreading?
There was this was unusual, is that there was a sudden jump in the ocean temperatures, and they couldn't figure out what was causing it, whether it was a vent in the bottom of the ocean that had opened up because of an earthquake, a fissure, or what was causing, but there was a sudden surge in the temperature of the ocean, and millions and millions and millions of fish were dying, seals were dying, whales were dying, a large number of sea life was dying and just floating on the surface of the water.
Oh my goodness.
It was in the Pacific Ocean.
Here's another headline the Lord showed you. Too big to fail fails.
Too big to fail fails, the banks. There's a too big to fail bank that's going to fail, and the government will take it over. I believe that's probably Bank of America. As I was talking earlier, it will be nationalized.
Israel says if Jerusalem hit, Mecca hit within minutes.
Right. So Jerusalem is going to say, as tensions escalate, that if a missile comes towards Jerusalem, before it hits, a missile will be on its way to Mecca. And they will use that as a deterrent to retaliation in Jerusalem. But
So
Tel
and
Aviv
Mecca
will be
is
hit.
in
Saudi Arabia.
Oh my goodness.
Right, Saudi Arabia.
Which
is where they're having the Hajj right now. I believe it's right now, or pretty soon they'll have
which is
the
like
Hajj.
the holy city of Islam.
Right.
Right. Amazing, amazing. Well, let's see, which ones did we miss here?
This is a good one.
Let me
New
see.
York, New Year's.
New Year's terror, in with the old, out with the new. New Year's terror.
Yeah, it was a play. It was almost like we thought terrorism was over, but there was a terrorist attack on New Year's Eve or New Year's, and it's like the old terrorist now happened again. There was something that happened in New York City on a New Year's Eve, and it was in with the old, out with the new. Instead of in with the new, out with the old. But this headline had that flip. It was in with the old,
so,
out with the new.
Any time frame, or are these just random? You really don't know exactly.
I don't know.
Times and seasons is all
I
you
don't know exactly on that one. I don't know. Yeah, I just see the headline. Sometimes it'll have a year or a date. Sometimes I have a date, but I don't see a year.
We're going to pray that you'll get the date in a year.
Well, you know, for those that are listening and they're saying, well, you know, you hear these headlines and I'm really fearful about this, and the Lord doesn't want you to be afraid,
That's right.
number
But to
one,
prepare.
because He always reveals these things to His prophets first. And basically the prophet reveals it to the body of Christ. And so we can be secure in that knowledge and know that God is saying, don't be moved by this, but I
Right.
want you to be prepared.
And that's what he told Jeremiah. He said, Jeremiah 10, he said, don't be amazed at the signs in heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. We're to be prepared for them.
Yes.
He's having me announce these things so that we can be prepared for issues, so we can be a solution to people's needs. There's going to be a lot of needs, and it's going to bring a lot of people to the Lord. If we become the solution, if we become part of the problem, then we have become nothing more than what they are. We're dismayed by the signs versus being a solution,
which is
and people
good news.
wanting what we have.
So the last question, that's not scripted. So for people who are watching, I know you can't set days, times, and all that. We can definitely see the seasons. Jesus is coming again.
Yes, he
we
is.
know that.
Yes.
But
Thank
over,
God.
as far as right now, when do you see the real calamity type of calamity that will shut down so many infrastructures in America? Are we years away from that? Are we a decade away from it? I mean, any idea?
Next spring there will be a bank shaking, and there will be a cyber shaking within 18 months, and there will be. It won't be long. I can't tell you the date. I just say it won't be long till we see terrorists in stadiums like the NFL. And terrorist activity in stadiums, terrorist activity in schools, terrorist activities in malls, and creating a jihad of fear.
Because one of the headlines you saw that we didn't get to, NFL postpones all games till answers found.
Till answers found, exactly.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, well, we're out of time, and we certainly have something to pray about, don't we, church?
we do.
It's time for us to pray. It's time for us to stand up for those righteous things, not things that are right, but things that are righteous in the sight of the Lord. I want to thank John Paul Jackson for joining us and for sharing. I really do appreciate you coming and sharing today with all those that are listening. You can visit him online at streamsministries.com. And again, if you're facing an uncertain situation or difficult circumstance in your life, we're here to pray with you. We have prayer partners that are standing by. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, ladies. Hasn't this been wonderful? I could sit here for another hour. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for today.
This has been a Daystar Television production.